Boston College quarterback Thomas Castellanos gets Boston College fans excited with an Instagram story that just tweets, "We stay in."
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is Locked On Boston College. I'm your host, AJ Black, editor and publisher of Eagle Insider, part of the 247 Network. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers join today, and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to get yourself started. So, quarterback Thomas Castellanos, his future has become one of the biggest stories that has popped up since the departure of Jeff Hafley to Green Bay. Now, with the Eagles losing their head coach, that kicks in a 30-day transfer portal window. And lots of folks, I got to say myself included, were a little worried that once Hafley left, a coach that was a player's coach, one that a lot of the players felt strongly about, and once he was removed, that many of these players were going to head to the door and find a new program. Many of these players, I feel like, wouldn't have been a catastrophic loss. But one that I was very worried about was the quarterback, Thomas Castellanos, who ran for over 1,100 yards last year, had over 25 touchdowns, both with his legs and on the ground, where he was dynamic in some of the plays that he made. He had 13 touchdowns on the ground. And the hope was that when you went from year one as a starter, where he came in the summer, basically was thrown in to start after just a month on the team, that after a spring and summer after that first year, that he would be given the chance to work with the staff and the players on his team to develop chemistry and some of his fundamentals to become a better passer. Now, that could be optimistic thinking, but I feel like he didn't get a chance to do that. And so there's only the possibility that he was going to improve. But with Hafley gone, I think one of the biggest worries I had was he was going to be the first one out the door. That some school would have caught his ear and brought him an NIL bag to get him to go somewhere else. But on Thursday night on Instagram, Thomas Castellanos, who's always busy on there, he's got his dog, he's always talking about stuff on there. He tweeted a picture, or Instagram, he put up on his story this picture. I'll put it up on the screen so you can see it. Oh, I didn't put it on. I'm sorry, I didn't put it on there. It is just him standing in his BC uniform, and it says, "We stay in." It says, "We stay in." And with that one Instagram story, the dark cloud over Boston College football has kind of been lifted. The pressure on getting that head coach seems a little less, because based off of that, Castellanos either knows that BC is going to go for a certain level coach. Maybe they've talked to him about it, and they're probably not going to tell him the name, but maybe they gave him a feel of like maybe some of the names they're looking at. That he feels that confident that he's already saying less than 24 hours after Hafley has left that he's staying. That is big, big news. Because think about, just envision right now what this new Boston College head coach is going to walk into next year if Thomas Castellanos transferred out. Just think about it for a second. You would have right now no quarterback that has played at all. You'd be going between Jacoby Robinson, who I don't know what he can do. Maybe he can play, maybe he can't. I know the staff from last year thought he was okay, but who knows? Emmett Morehead is gone. Matt Reevy is not going to be a starting quarterback. And Jonathan Montague is a true freshman. You could have gone out in the transfer portal and maybe grabbed somebody else, but they're going to have the same issue that Castellanos had last year. Because right now, school has started. Classes are going, and BC cannot, and I've talked to the staff about this, the staff from the previous regime. Once a certain amount of classes start, and that was like 2 weeks ago, they can't get any more transfers in. They have to wait for the summer. That's an admissions issue. So if Castellanos left, good luck trying to figure out who you're going to get in here to play with 1 month of practice underneath them. A very hard 2024 schedule without Thomas Castellanos is a nightmare schedule. The fact that you get him back is huge. It gives whatever this coach is. Oh, I said on this morning's episode, Jason Candle or Bill O'Brien would be perfect examples of coaches I would love to see with Thomas Castellanos. But you get those guys in here with him now, and then you're cooking. You're not taking a gigantic step back. You're not losing the most important position on your roster. And you get to, and as we saw last year, you can do a lot of things with just Thomas Castellanos. I mean, your offense is going to be a little one-dimensional, but if you lose other players in the transfer portal and you're kind of thin, they beat SMU with a lot of him running. They beat Army with just him running. They can do things with that. They can mask a lot of deficiencies on this team with just that quarterback. So this is big news for Boston College. And even as someone who covers it, like, it feels good. It feels good that that hopefully this is going to be this way. Now, I want to caveat all of this conversation on one thing. This is, as I said, less than 24 hours after Hafley left. There's always the potential that some team is going to get in his ear, and this tweet about, or Instagram story about we staying, all of a sudden is going to disappear. He loves to post things on his Instagram and then delete them. That's up as a story, so it's going to vanish in a little while anyways. But you never know. You never know how things could change, who could get in his ear, who could offer him what NIL. But right now, you feel pretty good. And as I was saying to Mitch, too, I tweeted this to Mitch, or texted this to Mitch of Eagle Insider as well. The same issue Boston College has if he leaves, where you don't have anyone, and if they come in, they got a month to get going. If anyone was interested in Thomas Castellanos, they're going to have the exact same issue. And many of the teams that would be more attractive for a guy like him have already got their quarterback for next year. So honestly, it doesn't make a ton of sense for him to leave because A, most of the schools that are better than BC are all set for next year. And B, he's going back to the same problem that he had at the beginning of this year, where if he left, he's going to have to relearn everything that he knew on a new school, with new teammates and a new culture that he's not aware of. It makes much more sense for him just to stay at BC. So that might have been just the math he did in his head. We'll have to wait and see. But for now, it feels pretty good. In our second segment, Castellanos coming back isn't just good for BC because he's coming back. It could have a trickle-down effect on many other players on this roster. I'll explain who they are and why I think this could be the start of something special. I'll get into that in just a moment. Happy Super Bowl to all who celebrate from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Now, if you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, and placing some super bets. I was saying on this morning's episode, big nacho fan. I like my guacamole. Are you good at making homemade guacamole? You might want to come over to my house and get me some good ones. I'm not good. I got a pedestal. Anyways, getting off track here. FanDuel has so many ways for you to end the season with a W or 2 or even 3. Not only can you bet on who will win Super Bowl 58, but FanDuel also has bets for which player will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored, and so much more. New customers join today, and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your bet of $5 or more wins. Thinking the Chiefs with the line? I don't even know what the line is right now. But are you thinking it's going to be the Chiefs? Go on FanDuel. Build yourself a parlay with Patrick Holmes rushing yards, with Deebo Samuel's receiving yards, and Kansas City in the spread. It's so easy, and the parlay system that they have on there is so easy to use. So just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Welcome back. This is Locked On Boston College. I'm your host, AJ Black of Eagle Insider. Thank you all for joining. I had decided to do 2 episodes. I had a whole episode this morning about the football coaching search. And then I was like, I saw the thing about Thomas Castellanos. I was like, I can't wait for this weekend to talk about this. I'm going to do it now. I know you guys are demanding this. You want to know about Thomas Castellanos and what was said and why it's important. So that's what we're going to get into right here. In our first segment, we talked about why it's important that he's back. But the fact that he said we stay in means something bigger than just Thomas Castellanos. Now, if you've watched him in his first year at Boston College, you'd be impressed. On social media, BC puts it up too. He's everywhere at BC. He's not an aloof sports star that just is playing at BC to play at BC. When they had the games against BU last week for hockey, who was there? Thomas Castellanos. When BC played Syracuse basketball and men's basketball this past week, who was there? Thomas Castellanos. He is at everything. He is so entrenched at BC that it has made his, I feel like he really is part of this community. And I think it's bigger than his relationship with Jeff Hafley at this point, which is great. That's what you want. You want a guy that likes the university, that likes the school that they're playing for so much more than just the coach. Now, Thomas Castellanos, as you've seen at these different events, his personality is pretty charismatic. This is a guy that has connected very well with his teammates, connects with everyone who's been around him. He's just a likable guy, minus the whole thing that he had with, what was it, Holy Cross, where he was doing the wanking motion. He's been on great behavior, and he's been a lot of fun to watch, but it's also his relationship with his teammates that I think is so important. So when he says we stay in, that means a lot of things to me as I think back in my brain. After the Fenway Bowl, Thomas Castellanos released his own YouTube channel, and he was doing his own vlogs of the Fenway Bowl. Like, what did he do before? What did the team do? And it was really cool. If you haven't had a chance to watch the vlog, go on YouTube and Google it. He I don't know who put it together for him, but it's very professional. It's really good. But in that, you see how connected Castellanos is to his teammates. And one player who was on my list of 10 players I don't think BC can afford to lose is clearly very close to him. And that is Lewis Bond. Lewis Bond in that video was everywhere with Thomas Castellanos. And so I think if Castellanos is staying, there's a very, very good chance that Lewis Bond is going to stay. And that's great because the two of them had not only are good friends, but they had good chemistry on the field too. You get a good wide receiver that's coming in, and I think that's a good sign. Also, there are lots of other players. I know he's close with Kye Robichaux, the running back. There's going to be other guys that I'm just not aware of. I mean, he was hanging out with a bunch of the defensive players too. Donovan Azaraku was with him. His personality and as a leader in that locker room, and he's growing as a leader right now, could be the difference between Boston College losing their lunch in the transfer portal and this kid who just came here last year saving this program in the depth that Jeff Hafley built for the next head coach. Thomas Castellanos has the potential to do something very special for Boston College off the field, which is saving this roster, getting this roster to 2024. So whoever this new head coach is has a full chamber of bullets to fire when they play against Florida State, metaphorically, of course. That is going to be big. If he can push his teammates to stay here, and the ones that I worry about more now are the new guys. I would say guys like Cam Martinez, who have already committed to BC and hasn't been on campus yet, I would put him on red alert that he's never making it to BC. He was coming because of Jeff Hafley. But there's a whole bunch of other new guys that are here too. This would be the opportunity now as the guys are working out. You saw the pictures on Twitter the other day of it was Castellanos out there working out with Lewis Bond. As they're working out, that he sells like, this is our team, guys. We're going to stick together. We're going to win. We're going to do this. Who cares who the coach is? We'll figure it out. We're going to stick together because we're a group. We did it before. We're going to do it again. These guys all committed to a school like BC because they believed in whatever the bill of goods that Jeff Hafley sold about this program. I don't think things are going to change too much in terms of the vision of what that's going to look like when a new head coach comes in. But I do have big faith that Thomas Castellanos is going to be able to help bridge that gap so that we're not looking at a 4-year rebuild. And for that is great news for Boston College fans. In our final segment, there's one name that has popped up more recently on the coach search lists that I think is not a realistic potential. It doesn't have a realistic opportunity to come here. I'll explain why he could be a good fit, but I don't think it's going to happen. I'll explain why in just a moment. Locked On Boston College, AJ Black. As I said, editor and publisher of Eagle Insider, part of the 247 network. Right now, we're running a 60% off sale. If you want, we had, I think, 8 to 10 pieces out on Thursday of just all the news going on, analysis, scoops. Our message board is blowing up like crazy. You can get in for an entire year for $33. That's going to cover you throughout this entire coaching search, all through next year's football season, and all through recruiting season 2. You don't want to miss this deal. Get over to Eagle Insider right now, sign up, and become a VIP member. You will not regret it. So I saw Mark Blounchin, who is a big fan of, not really. He's an older Boston Globe writer. Me and him have had some tiffs on Twitter. And he shows up only when BC is having a coaching search to give his thoughts on it. And he's never right. But his new name that he threw out as the guy that Boston College has to hire is Chip Kelly. And if it was just because what Blouds had said, I wouldn't be talking about it because I don't want to give him the time of day. But I did see Matt Fortuna, who I think was part of The Athletic at one point. He also tweeted out that BC would be interested in Chip Kelly and that Chip Kelly might be interested in BC. And then I saw a couple of the 247 writers, I think a couple Pac-12 ones, Jason Shear, who writes about Arizona, saying he'd be a good fit for Boston College. And I looked, and then about 20 minutes after I saw those tweets, I saw that Chip Kelly had interviewed twice for the Las Vegas Raiders offensive coordinator position and is currently interviewing for the Washington Commanders offensive coordinator position. So when I hear that he's a sitting head coach interviewing for a offensive coordinator position, what does that strike you as similar to? It is, yes, it's exactly the same thing that Jeff Hafley just did, which is go from a head coach job at the NCAA level and go down to a lower level job at the NFL because it's a better quality of life without all the crap that goes along with college sports. Chip Kelly has been very vocal that he does not like the current state of college football. I've heard the buzz that he wants to come back to the New England area, and that's probably what Fortuna is talking about, why in Blouds is talking about why he could be a good fit for BC. But he, to me, strikes me as a coach that is very burnt out from the grind of college football. And if he isn't completely burnt out, he's getting there. So do you want a coach that is on embers coaching your Boston College program? Probably not. He's a very good offensive coach. Let me tell you that. And the thought of having Chip Kelly with Thomas Castellanos, that has got to be an enticing option for you. Like thinking of what he could do I mean, he was the coach with Marcus Mariota when he won the Heisman. He takes mobile quarterbacks and makes them, game changers. He could do a ton with Castellanos. So that part, I'm like, ooh, that would be fun to see him with this offense. And believe me, like, to watch what he could do in a game with BC would be a lot of fun. And it would be a high marquee name. But what he's doing, it clearly looks to me like he's just trying to get out of college football. He wants to go back to the NFL where he can live like a normal human being. And money's not going to be an issue, which, I mean, could be a reason why you'd say he's going to go to BC. But is he going to stay at UCLA or go to the Eagles? I just don't see. It doesn't make sense to me. So I wanted to disprove this as one of the options out there. Now, if you wanted to hear my thoughts on who I thought were the two big, most realistic options, check out this morning's episode, because I'm doing 2 on a Friday. I'm doing a double Friday episode. I just had so much I wanted to talk about. I was going to spread it out and give you guys some Locked On BC love. Now, this weekend, Boston College basketball is off. They get it off until next Tuesday when they play Florida State. Hockey has a Friday night game against UMass Lowell. That's a big one. And I'm sure on Eagle Insider, we will have news as it breaks. Any analysis that you need, make sure you check us out there. I hope you guys enjoyed our second episode of the day. Check me out at Twitter at AJBlack247 and become an Eagle Insider subscriber. I hope you think about that. Thank you all so much. If you're an everyday listener, you do mean a lot to us. And if you're a first-time listener, I wanted to welcome you. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm trying to get those new listeners in here and hooked and Locked On Boston College. Your team every day.